Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dana. I'm doing something a little bit different today. I posted this card in some of the card making videos and I've been getting a lot of questions on how I did this background. So I thought I'd just do a video. So what you're going to need for this technique is your distress inks, either regular dye ink or the Oxide ink will work fine. A spray bottle, I happen to have the Tim Holtz one, and then some form of jelly printing plate. This is the one I use, it's the gel press, but any that are on the market will work for this. And this is the 5x7, yeah, this is the 5x7 size one, which is the size that I like for this. And then, of course, you'll need paper. Any paper you have is perfect. I just have little containers next to me with just a bunch of 5x7 paper in it, which is the easiest size to use because you just cut a 8.5 by 11.5. But anyway, so yeah, that's all you're going to need. And of course, some paper towels and clean up stuff. And yeah, that's really all you'll need. So to get started, I'm going to do the same ink combination that I did on that card, which is Salvaged Patina, Peacock Feathers, and Uncharted Mariner. So when I'm doing three of like the same color, I typically go lightest to darkest. It really does not matter. That's just what I have a tendency to do. So you're just going to take the ink pad and you're just going to squish it on there. Now you're not going to be able to see this very well because of the black mat, but there's quite a bit of ink on there. And go in with the peacock feathers. And then Uncharted Mariner. And you know what, let me put a piece of paper under this so that you can see it. It might slide around on me a little bit. That is totally fine. Okay, there we go. That's better. Now you can see that there's actually ink on there. And that'll help me too, because I'll know where it's beading up. Okay, so then you're just going to spray it with water. And I just kind of do the droplets, so I'm just only partially pulling back the trigger. I just like that look. And you don't have to worry about going over it with a brayer or anything like that. Just put the water on it and then put the paper on it. Now, let me grab a piece of just cardstock here. Just cardstock. Oh man, I just dropped a container. Oh well, that's okay. Okay, so this is just a piece of regular cardstock. It's actually a pretty thin cardstock. Now normally when you're gel printing with acrylic ink, you're going to want to let it, dry and all that stuff. And then when you put it on there, and you rub it and you push it and everything else. You don't want to do that with this. There's a lot of water on there, and the only thing you're going to do when you push on it and rub it is take all that ink and move it off of your printing plate. So you're just going to want to lightly put it on there. So I just kind of set it on there, and then I just kind of tap it with my fingers to make sure that all of the paper makes contact. And then you have a couple different options how to remove the paper. You can pull it from the top, but that's going to cause the lighter ink to bleed into the darker ink. You can pull it from the bottom, which vice versa, it's going to cause the darker ink to bleed into the lighter ink. What I typically do is move it from the side. So in that way you have all the inks still separated, and the ink pool is just on the side here. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit that with my heat dryer or my heat tool. You don't have to. I do because I know me and I'm going to get that everywhere. Okay, so there's that. It's not completely dry. Now you might be thinking, Dana, that looks absolutely nothing like the background that you showed in the card. And you would be completely right. That is a ghost print that I used, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to see all this yummy ink. Now, there's still spots where it's not really blended much. So I'm going to go in and just add a bit more water in those spots. And then I'm going to take another piece of cardstock. Again, you can use any cardstock that you have. I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to lightly tap so that it makes contact. And take it off. And there you go. That's how you get kind of the printed background. Now, every time you do this, it's going to look completely different. So you'll notice on this card, it's more separated. You see more white on there. That's just because there is more ink, less water. Now, I could have just skipped adding more water to this, but I didn't like that it wasn't blended in parts. Let me get this more dry. So that's why I added more water. Now I have enough ink on my plate there to actually do a third print. So I'm going to go in. Now typically when there's not a whole lot of ink on there, but there's enough and I don't want to waste it, I'll just go in with regular copy paper and then I'll get the rest of that ink off of there. And this I am rubbing because the goal of this is to actually get that ink off of there. You can go in. And there you go. And then save this. I typically do, when I have the colors out, I do multiple different backgrounds with multiple different colors, or not colors, multiple different pieces of paper. So we'll go in and I'll show you another trick here. Now this time, since I can actually see what I'm doing, I will make sure that I get the colors blended a bit more than they were. So that was again the salvage patina. And then we'll go in with the peacock feathers. And I'm overlapping the ink pad here. So I'm taking the corner of my ink pad and actually going up into that salvage patina. So then that way it blends a little better. Okay, I'm gonna go in and give it a drink. And I'll show you another technique. I'm gonna use a bit more water this time. Okay. And then we'll go in, I'm actually gonna use a piece of pearl paper this time. So this is, you can't really see it on camera, but this is a pearlized white paper. And it's pretty thin. I'm going to just put it on there, lightly tap. And then before I move it, I'm just going to give it a twist. And then lightly tap again. And then you get some cool bleeding and blending on it. Now this die cut it out. It's awesome. Here's my heat tool again. And go in and dab off the excess a little bit there. Okay, and there we go. And you can see this is very thin paper, but it actually, when you color it, you can see the pearl a lot better. And then we'll go in and do our ghost print. And this time I'm not going to turn it. And I am adding a bit more pressure. And there we go. There's the ghost print for that one. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to use that same piece of copy paper. And I'm just going to get the extra ink on there. And this way you don't waste anything. This could be a background. You just glue it on a piece of cardstock and it can be a background for a card. Okay. Go in, I'm going to clean up a little bit more here because we're going to switch colors. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with some Halloween colors because I'm still in a Halloween mood here. So we're going to do Twisted Citron, Black Soot, and Wilted Violet. Now you could go in with stencils and do all those fun gel printing techniques. This is just a basic how to get that background. And we're going to spray it. This time, let's go in with some watercolor paper. Because I have a feeling that this background I'll be doing more water techniques on. Now this is just the Canson watercolor paper. It's typically what I use when I'm doing stuff like this. The Ranger Distress watercolor paper, perfect for this also. I just don't have any big sheets of it. So I'm going to use the Canson. And put it on there. Lightly press. And this one I'm not going to twist because I don't want to end up with mud. There we go. There's that one. We'll go in and we'll do our ghost print. And I'll use another piece of watercolor paper. Now I'm going to press on that one a bit more. Since this is watercolor paper, it's going to soak up more of that ink. There we go. See, that's closer to this background. So it's just more ink, less water. It's closer as far as the texture, obviously, not the colors. Colors are completely different. Dry that off a bit. And then go in with a clean piece of copy paper. Get all that extra off. And there we go. Now while I have this out, I'm actually going to do a pearl one right quick, and then I will show you what the oxides look like. Now I just wanted to show you, since I did this, I got some of the black soot on my ink pad. That's totally fine. Before I put it away, I will just clean that off. But I just wanted to make sure that the same side is touching there so I don't have to clean off the entire ink pad. Okay, and give it some water. I don't remember if I said this, but when I'm doing backgrounds, I just sit down. I've got my all my distress inks beside me, and I just make a bunch of backgrounds. And that's what I do. It's easier. I find it easier to just sit down and make a bunch of backgrounds than get all this stuff out and just make one or two. So I just do a bunch. Great to do when you're just sitting watching TV or listening to an audiobook, which, speaking of, if y'all like the spicy audiobooks, let me know which your favorite is in the comments. I enjoy fantasy spicy books, the Bayou series from Molly Harper. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's on audiobook. Fantastic. And it's hilarious. So you get like the spicy, the funny, it's awesome. Love that series. But here's this one on the pearl. And then we'll go ahead and do our ghost print here. Now, when you're using colors that don't mesh well, you have to be careful because you will end up with mud. So that's why I put these colors where I did. I used the black to separate it, because if it starts turning into mud in the black, that's fine. It's not really going to show. But yeah, you want to be careful. Okay. And this is just the copy paper, the cleanup copy paper. Somehow I got hair on my gel print plate thingy mabobber. Okay. Okay, so before I do that, I'm just going to show you how I clean off my ink pad since it's here. So the black part is here. So I'm just going to take that and wipe it. And just wipe it till it comes clean. And there you go. That's it. That's all you do. Okay, so now we're going to do some oxides here. So we're going to do Victorian Velvet, Seedless Preserves, and Uncharted Mariner. Now, I have rubber bands on my ink pads because of the way I store them. I just store them in these containers on their side. And some of these ink pads are like 10 years old, so the plastic isn't what it used to be, and sometimes lids fall off. So I've just gotten in the habit of putting rubber bands over all of them. Is that overkill for the newer ink pads? Yes, but I've gotten in the habit so I don't have to try and remember which ones are older, which ones are newer. So I just put them on all of them. Actually, I want to go a bit further with the Victorian Velvet here. So I get a good blend. There we go. And then the seedless. And Uncharted. Now, could you go in and just press that? Absolutely. You don't have to add water. I like the way the water works. And specifically for the Oxide inks, how to get them to do their fun Oxide thing is you add water. So I'm going to go ahead and add water. Let me get some of my other prints out of the way here so I don't get water on them. Again, we're going to add quite a bit of water here. Okay. Then I'll go in, what do I want to use? We'll just use regular cardstock. Nope. That one's going to be interesting. And I'm just going to give it a spin. And I'll pull it off this way just to show y'all what that does. So you see how the ink starts to migrate? And this one I didn't push it down enough, so all this white spot is where it didn't make contact with the print, the gel plate. So that could be a cool look. You could go in and temporarily adhere some die cut shapes and then do it this way and then take them off and you'll have like a masking effect. You can go in with your stencils. There's a whole lot of fun things that you can go in and do with your gel plate. Sorry about that, guys. My battery died. I had to change that out real quick. Okay, so here's the first print for the Oxide. Let's go ahead and do our ghost print. There we go. Hit that with the heat tool. And then we'll do our clean off print here with the copy paper. And if you're just mucking around, you can use copy paper for the whole thing. You don't have to just use it as your cleanup paper. There we go. Okay, so now you're like, okay, Dana, I've made all these backgrounds. What am I going to do with them? So what I do is I just lay them out on my desk and I let them dry overnight. And then I just put them in a little container. So you can see here, I've got loads of different, those are some Halloween things that I was farting around with. But I've got loads of different backgrounds in here. See, so these are all the ghost prints and that was the first one. And then this one is on the pearl paper, which you can't really see. But I've got loads in here. And then on some of them, I went in and I was just mucking around with stencils. And this is just plain copy paper. That one turned out cool. So see, this is when... Oh no, that one I did this way. I don't know. I'm trying to think back to months ago when I made these. When I made some of these. But on some of them, I'll write down the color combinations just so that I don't forget. That's when I, feel like actually doing that. Most of the time I don't. I just kind of play roulette and hope to remember. But anyway, that's the basic gel printing that I do with my distress inks. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you haven't, please go ahead and pamper that like button, show it a little love, and then hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And yeah, take some time to pamper your inner goddess today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.